Hello, lovely people. How are you? Hope you are observing the protocol and following the desired discipline for the sake of family, friends, society, and humanity on the whole. Welcome to another episode of Know the Happiness How with Winko Chow. And I'm your host, Winkamana Satyendra Chauhan, aka Winko Chow, an air veteran and a resilient lifestyle strategy coach from Bangalore, India. And yes, you must be wondering where was I? Yes, I've been missing a long layoff, battling the virus with self and in the family. But I'm all good and up and running and kicking and back in the full gear, I guess. And as you see, with me today is our guest, a lovely guest who comes from New Delhi, lives in Austin, Texas. She's an entrepreneur, founder, and CEO of Cosmos City Media. She is a journalist. She's an anchor at TV Asia, has her own podcast, Fab Life 360 on Ruckus Avenue Radio. While there is so much available in the media today, and you can
Mhm.
fall back to kind of look for solutions which are around you in terms of reading good books, in terms of listening to people who have been there, and listening to people who've had kind of vision. Yet one of the challenges that I see we all are going through is social media, which is a necessary evil, if I may say. And so, what is your opinion about the rabbit hole that it is turning out to be?
It is a rabbit hole for sure. I don't think there is any way that we can describe this better. Because once you go in there, then you just from one app to another app to another app to another app to another app, and then back to the first app. Everyone knows that. So, I think what has happened is social media is everything now. It's your self worth, your information, your knowledge, your connection, your FOMA, your self image, your success, your social life. Everything is coming from social media, and so there's two aspects to it. One is which is great, and one is which is not great. And I'll tell you something very interesting here today is that in I think that was 2012 or 20 and maybe 2013, I attended Dr. Deepak Chopra's talk, and somebody asked this question to Dr. Chopra in the audience that social media. Imagine in 2013,
Very.
he said that social media is taking off, and we are seeing so many repercussions, and this is happening, and how do we handle it? What do we do? And he's like, what you're seeing right now, we are social media and all this internet world is like a giant wheel. We are on like below the giant wheel. We are not even at the peak and top of the giant wheel. Whatever you're seeing now, it's going to be a lot worse and a lot bigger in 5, 10 years, 15, 20 years as the time progresses. So he was so right. Think about it. 2013, so many apps didn't even exist back then. There was no TikTok. There was many things that didn't exist back then, and still people were concerned. So it's going to grow more, I will say. It's not going anywhere. It's here to stay. We have to live with it. So I think the only problem that I'm seeing is there is depression, there is mental health issues, there's comparisons, there's competition, there's a lot of negativity. People, the self image gives you. You mark your self image through social media. Your success is marked through social media, so that requires a very high level of you know, mental strength and self worth and self image and security, in which young people it's hard to have, even older people. So that's just something you have to develop as time is going, that we cannot compare ourselves to social media. Everyone has like this, nobody is as good looking as their Facebook picture, and nobody is as bad looking as their driver's license picture.
So,
So, they always put their best work.
uh-huh,
They always put their best times. Even if the life is not great, everyone is putting their best. And when you look at it, you don't know what kind of mood you are in. You might not be in that kind of a mood.
uh-huh.
So it can create anxiety.
And so
And I'm
do
very
you
concerned
do you
about that.
think besides the self-discipline and self-evaluation of your self-worth and falling back on the basics, do you think to kind of implement certain things on across the world, mm, we need stricter laws, or we need uh, that bit of stick in the house? There could be ways whereby a balance could be maintained between the regulation and inner education.
Oh, I agree. I would love to see that. If app developers kind of put a time limit to whatever time you can be on a certain app, on games, on all of them, that would be just outstandingly, that would be phenomenal. But you know what? I don't see it happening though, for some reason. Because these are, they make, the more time you stay on an app, they make more money. They want you to stay.
Very true. Like they
They
say,
want you to stay on it. They want you to see all those ads. So I would think make social media work for you. If you have to be on social media, then use it for your advantage. Maybe, take some courses, learn, interact, boost your socializing. And I think it's just discipline at the end of the day.
I'm
We
very
cannot depend
sure,
on outside sources. We have to use our own.
and the
Put
little
like
that
a
I had.
timer, delete apps from your phone, things like that.
So I believe there is some bill which is uh, pending with your Senate. There is some move which has happened there in the US, uh, which is to regulate this social media. So while we wait for the good things to happen, uh, what I was seeing on your profile, that you've been very active in the Austin community, and you support a lot of non-profits, and you've been in the if I would term the politics media too, and there was a very impactful role, I'm told, that you played in the US elections 2020. So how was that experience? How challenging was that?
Yeah, no, it was challenging, but it was extremely gratifying. In fact,
Mhm.
early this year, I also helped with the census project. This year was a census year. So we did a whole project on creating awareness in the Asian community to make sure that they participate in census. So I did a lot of that time, and I remember even just that time. You'll find it very interesting when the census project was almost over, and it felt really good. And I knew that we, made a lot of people sign up and fill up from the Asian community. So I was then sitting and thinking one day, you know what? I wish I can do this for elections because we had learned from 2016 elections that a lot of people didn't vote. So I says, now we have to, this year we have to make everyone vote. Voting is not just your, it's not something that you do, it's your responsibility. When you become citizen,
Very
that's your
true.
job, you
Very
have to
true.
do it, right? So country expects that from you, and many people, they just don't think like that. So I says we have to raise awareness in the South Asian community in every state, every color, every caste, every age group, from younger to older. And we have to get them to the ballots. We have to make them vote. And I didn't know how and when, but I think put it out in the universe that I wish I could help out in elections this year. And it just happened. It just happened that there is a non-profit called Desi Blue, and
Okay.
they are actually volunteers. All of them are volunteers,
Hmm.
and they felt that they started as two people in California, that they felt that they could help in the Senate elections and all of that. They're all Democrats. So they wanted to reach out through the radios to the swing states. in all the swing states.
Okay.
So, and since they are all from different backgrounds, they didn't have any media experience or knowledge. So they are like, how do we do this? How do we reach different radio stations? What is need to be done? What is it? So then someone recommended that, okay, Seema is a professional media. She might be able to help you connect with her. And they connected. We got on a Zoom call. And then the project launched, and we reached out to every teeny tiny, big, small radio stations in the swing state, nationwide, everywhere. And for the ads, I asked them to create their own ads, because that's just the
Okay.
kind of passion that you will have when you will record your ads. The scripts, the radios will do it, but yours will be different. Interviews we organized with the radio station. So all these people created, wrote scripts. They became like overnight writers and podcasters and radio shows. So, I planned the whole strategy for them, from media buying to getting them on these radio stations for the elections. And in Pennsylvania, a lot of places, we did feel that
Mhm.
we pushed a lot of Asians to vote, and we feel pretty good about it. And I was thinking, like, that day when Daisy Blue president, he said, Seema, I can express how much help you have done to us. And it's just, we wouldn't have been able to do this at all. And can you imagine what was my reaction? I was crying. I
Uh,
just couldn't stop. I just kept crying. I was like, all my years of my media company and all these projects that I have done, extremely gratifying. It makes me happy whatever I do. But it was just, it felt like that moment, it was leading up to this day. It was leading up to this moment, that I, who was an immigrant who came to this country, you know, with the basic H1, H4 kind of visas, made our lives through education, schools, colleges, internships, all hardships, everything. And today I'm standing here and I could say, oh, I contributed to the elections. We made together, lots of people vote. So maybe, so it
and
felt good. It felt good to be
absolutely.
part of
So
that.
while it
Felt
was very
like amazing.
gratifying, and besides the other things, what I'm seeing here is that innovative endeavors that you created. Because all the while now, and across the world, what I'm seeing is there is a pattern where people are kind of divided over the kind of politics which is being played out. And it is certainly becoming a kind of challenge with the common people. Like you said, people are not ready to come and vote, and especially the educated lot, because they're kind of losing out, losing their beliefs on that. And somewhere, they are in a dilemma as to which way to go. It's kind of comparisons between the sea and the devil. So very very interesting that you created certain things which were very innovative, and wish those endeavors are done across everywhere. So while I am trying to understand your role in the community, and I know that you say that a fulfilling life is only possible when you contribute beyond yourself, and you are doing many more contributions of those sorts to create that positive impact and create awareness. So, and among a lot of things that you do, one thing which stood out to me was Giving Tuesday. So tell us something more about that endeavor of yours.
Yeah, Giving Tuesday was basically, my final episode for 2020.
Okay.
And I wanted to give back to all, children and families have suffered the most, right? With the economics point of view, with money and all of that. And so I felt like Giving Tuesday is the biggest giving month. We people shop, they buy a lot of during the holiday time, everyone is shopping. So Giving Tuesday was created so that people also give back to the needy. So I thought I will do an episode on the three nonprofits that I have worked closely from many years. So I did a full-fledged episode on them. One first was with Miracle Foundation, Caroline. I know her from 2000 when she launched Miracle, was to create orphanages and basically place children who have lost their parents with the families. started with orphanages, and now she's placing them in families, giving them education, food, everything, all
Uh-huh.
10 civil rights. Then Akshay Patra, who provides food to,
Yes.
you know about Akshay Patra.
Yes.
You
Yes.
have the kitchen there,
Yes.
food to the school going children. And then we have this non-profit called HC4A, Hindu Charities for America. Their logo is live here, serve here. So they provide school scholarships and vocational scholarships to
Mhm.
underserved communities in Austin. So kids who couldn't have gone to college, they provide them vocational scholarship, and they do backpacking and school supplies for on first day of school and all that. So that's been around for 10 years. So I was like, these non-profits, the companies are suffering, but non-profits are suffering too. They need funds. So to end the year off so that their children can get help, more help, they had a donor who was kind of matching all the donation. So anyone who donates to them, they would match it. So I says we should spread the word to as many people as possible. So I created the public service announcement. We played it in Ruckus throughout, and I did the episode. We did the YouTube. So we did as much as we could to spread the word, and this is going on even now for the whole month of December.
Excellent, excellent. I mean, I wish we could, you know, spread this, and well, a lot of entrepreneurs do and give back to the society. So now I come to a little more interesting part. Uh, I see you on your Fab 360. You interview
Fab
global
Life
heroes.
360.
Fab Life 360, yes. So I mean, yeah, that's also innovative. Fab 360. Maybe I'll come out with that venture someday. A nice style and humor. So you interview global heroes who are in a way celebrities, who are high profile, big wigs. You also host kind of high profile events. And the what I had learned was that you are also a board member in the Austin Asian American Film Festival. So, which kind of qualifies you to in what we call here a page three celebrity? So, how much of it is glamour, or is it a challenge there?
It's combination of both.
Uh-huh.
I was on the board of Indie Meme Film Festival first. Indie Meme is a South Asian film festival in Austin. And I still do the PR there, everything. It's been there for 5 years. And then Asian American, Asian Austin Film Festival is different. That's broad Asian, just Korean, Japanese, everything. So I was on the board of that too. I'm not on it this year because this year it became just too much for me to
Okay.
handle all these projects. So yeah, I mean the challenge is just to make sure that they get the publicity, they get the PR, they get to be in mainstream uh, media. People, the idea, my job was to for other people to know of all these movies, because these are all independent films made out of passion, compassion, by these artists, and they don't have the big monies and Kejos and Yash Chopras behind them to support. They are on their own. So the only way they succeed is if people watch them. They're made with solid content. So these are independent films, and independent films only thrive when film festivals help them. And film festivals publicize, market their movies, bring the filmmakers, do the screening, show them to people. So that was kind of my one of my endeavors that I have done over the years, is help with the film festival, because that's helping the artist.
So all those listening and watching, so it's not all the glamour, and there is so much of hard work there, I believe. So
Oh
and
yeah, oh yeah. There's so much running around that goes behind. Can't even imagine.
so, but what we would think is that since you meet so many people, you are keeping in touch with all these high-profile people, and what we have found, and it's not a new phenomena, that stress emanating from multiple challenges in the lives of professionals, or people uh, who have reached there, or maybe who are still striving to reach there, leads to quite a bit of depression and certain fallouts, which we're all aware. So, what is your take on this negativity with the successful and, if I may say, not so very successful people in the creative field?
Yeah, I think it's primarily because of the comparisons and the competition, right?
Mhm.
Because success is, first of all, you have to know what is your definition of success. Everyone defines success. For somebody, it's money. If you made the money, you're successful. For somebody, it might be just getting an award is a success. For someone, if people showed up to the screening and clapped and asked questions, that's a success. Or if his mother or wife or the family enjoyed the film that they made, that's a success. So success is your pretty much your own definition, first of all.
Very true.
You know, so I don't know what everybody's thinking is, right? uh, Everyone is driven by something else. So and for creative people, yes, it is very very hard because there is less money, and then there is, not everyone makes it. That's the biggest problem. If you are in a computer job, doctors, this, that, you lawyers, all the other jobs that we have, there is certain security, there's consistency. You know, these are your hours. Okay, some people work beyond hours too, but you kind of have an idea.
Very true.
But you do have this much coming every month that you can pay bills. But in the creative and artistic fields, that becomes a very much challenge, that sometimes you put your whole life in it, your all your investments, your savings in it, and you don't make that much in return to pay it back. So I think that stress drives artists a little bit towards the negative sides of what you were saying, that they want to do this, but they don't have the support. So that's why I always feel that, people who don't have the artistic talents in them, like they cannot make films, but they appreciate it, and they have the savings and they have the money and they have the power. So these people, and they do that, they invest in films, they help them. So if
Very
people
true.
support artistic communities through their money, their time, and their talents, their abilities, or whatever they can do, then the artist community can thrive better.
Very, 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 very interesting answer there, and very interesting take. So now I ask you, you're also sort of in the creative field, and news and media is also very creative. So what is, despite all the challenges and all the ups and downs that you go through, so what drives you? Is it your purpose of bringing positivity into people's life, or are there other factors too?
Yeah, when I started the podcast, that was it. That was it. I still remember the moment, the day, everything. When Sammy, he's the CEO of Ruckus Avenue, he called me and he says, Seema, I want you to host this show. And I had never done that before. I had done TV, but I had never hosted like a podcast or a radio show, which is very different. So I kept thinking. I didn't say yes or no, but I kept thinking. But I was in first, it was, should I do it? And then the second was, what's the topic? What is it going to be about? What's it going to be called? What's the theme? Then I remember one day it was the 100th anniversary of Baba, Sai Baba, and I was driving back from the temple. And on the way back, this idea came to me. I was like, oh, okay, there's so much negativity in this world. I want to do a show on positivity, to increase the positivity in people's mind, that there is a light at the end of the tunnel. There's so much positivity that we don't focus on, and we really need to put our attention to positivity. And I says, I'll bring people. It will not be a preachy show, but it will be a story. It will be a show where they will learn from other people's stories, from the way they lived, from what their life was, so that they can take a crash course or a shortcut and learn and say, okay, this guy said this and this guy said this, maybe I can try and do this and this will work for me. Because that I have done that a lot. I imbibe and I listen to other people's experiences and see if it works for me or not.
Excellent.
So anyway, so I wanted to, and the idea was just one line, inspire. If you ask me, I wanted to bring a smile at the, I says, if I, at the end of the hour, if my audience feel uplifted, energized, if I brought a smile at the end of the hour, that's it. That's all I really wanted. Is I wanted to end with a smile, that okay, we can do it.
So
So
I'm
that was, and people inspire me when I see people doing these amazing things. When all these people who have come on my show, on be it philanthropists, be it artists or actors, comedians, doctors, mental health, celebrities, chefs, filmmakers, a lot of
professionals.
filmmakers, then doctors, then lots of COVID shows, artists we did, census, elections, politicians, candidates. All of them are driven. All of them. There's not like one person who has not contributed to the society and who's not driven by a purpose and a passion in their own way. So I wanted to kind of get to know them. I'm very like, sometimes I feel like I'm very curious and I'm very hungry for people's stories, because everyone has a story. I want to know if they got into this, what made them get into this, what was their incentive, and what happened along the way. And so I wanted to kind of bring out all these stories of people whom I was coming across
So I'm tempted
and
to tell you
to
that,
reach to
yeah.
other side.
So we share the similar vision, if I may say, or similar purpose behind creating these podcasts. So and you actually are quite there when you say you want the
I can
smiles
relate.
to be, yes. So I certainly relate and we connect there.
Yeah.
So now that you've reached a stage, uh, and in your life, in career, where you are successful, you are famous. So what are your top achievements if you had to list down three?
Oh, achievement will always be to children.
Wow,
Children,
wow.
family, friends, the people I trust all these years. Some of the friends I've had it for literally day one when I came to Austin. I'm still in touch with a lot of my school friends, my college friends, my fourth grade friend. She's still my best friend. Lives in Jaipur. Her name is Jyoti
Okay.
Sagar, now Jyoti Kapoor. So hi to her. Then my friend here in California, Parul. She was with me since high school. So, and then some friends I made here when we had just come to Austin and along the way in Austin. And, so a lot of friends who I know are there, who understand and who are with me in this journey, who have supported. So that those are at the end of the day, and people who have appreciated, I would say, if that's an achievement, if they have, if so much work, time and energy and money and everything goes into producing anything that we I do, podcast, be it TV Asia, any work. There's tons of work behind the scenes. So if they have appreciated it and if they have enjoyed it or if they have remembered it and if it has inspired them in any way that they can do it too, then that's fulfilling.
That's uh, that's that sometimes sounds so very humble when I hear these kind of achievements. Like one guest on my show said, my achievement is being a good father. I mean, where could I think? And so today you telling me it's people, basically. It's people that you look at and the satisfaction that they derive. So while we're talking of people, uh, is there a person or people who have had impact on your life, or in some which way they've given you some learning that you are where you are today?
Yeah, no, there's not just one, there's more than one.
That's why I said
And
people.
I was, yeah, yeah. And, and I really, there are some people who, like you've heard the statement, come for a season, come for a reason, come for a lifetime,
Mhm.
you know?
Mhm.
So there is people who came for a reason, who did really good things for me, but now they are not there, but we are still great to take advice. Like, as I said, Jan Triplet, she's my mentor where I work,
Okay.
First Business Success Center. Whenever I'm in a jam, I call her and she will tell me the right thing. Even if I'm wrong, she'll tell me that. I love that. And then there is a friend or two I will call, text them, like, this is what it is, help me. And then a lot of times I try to listen to my own shows, listen to my guest, what they did and what they would have done. And I try to imagine what this person would do or think, because I have a big problem that I've always, big challenge that I have always faced in my life, is that I trust too much. I
Uh-huh.
trust everybody very quickly.
That's a strength,
So
actually.
that's the cost. That's where I have paid. I don't know, that I try to hold on, and every time I paid a cost for that trust, I I wouldn't learn from it because I would tell myself, oh, if I do that, then I will lose me. Then that's my core is to trust and believing and all. Then that's not right. But I think I've also learned that, you have to be a little smart.
Yes,
You have
absolutely.
to, trust is good. I'm going to go on trusting, but I will also use I'll give time, little bit of time to develop that trust and to make sure that that I don't get into myself into any situation, or my clients or my people or my family or friends or people that I'm representing at the end of the day. If I'm bringing somebody on board for other people to trust, then they are depending on me also, right, to
Very
use
true.
that judgment. So you have to use your judgment. Trusting is good, but you also have to use your mind. Can't go blindly.
So, so yes, while you were saying trust, this is what I wanted to kind of submit, that it's not trust, honesty, all those are the basic factors. Actually, they are the qualities and the strength that we have. What we need to balance it out is with, like you said, you answered it yourself, smartness, small bit of intuitiveness, and that observation, if not judgment, the observation that you have. If you probably get that
Yeah.
together, it would be lovely to trust everyone. And maybe we can connect on this a little later. But at this moment, now I come to a more interesting part, where I would like to know if you had any aha moments or any embarrassing moment which do happen with people in the media, and it has happened with me. I've shared one of those with you, where I
Yeah.
forgot to record a very interesting interview. So,
Yeah. Yeah.
and I couldn't recreate the magic that did happen later on. So, yet it couldn't be there. So, you have anything to share with us and the audience and your
Yeah.
own fans?
Yeah, of course. Yeah, I have one. Yeah, I have maybe more than one, but one I always remember. So I think it was 2018, 20 or 2019 only. Yeah, 2019,
Uh-huh.
last year summer. So Asian Chamber of Commerce, they hold their annual gala every year. They award ceremony, and they
Hmm.
do a very elegant job. There's about 500 people. They call all the who's who of Austin, from all the city of Austin. Mayor is there. It's a really, really nice, elegant event. So the night before the gala, Marina Bhargava, she's the CEO of Chamber of Commerce, Asian Chamber of Commerce. She called me night 9 p.m. She said, Seema, we need you. I says, what happened? She says, our MC of the gala is an ER. So we don't have an MC. So everyone came up with your name, that if you can MC tomorrow. I was like, it's 9 p.m. tomorrow. This 500 people gala MC. She's like, yeah. So I says, do I have a co-MC? She says, no. I says,
My
okay,
gosh.
then how do you expect me to do? Don't worry, we have an event organizer. I'll help you, this, that. We have a script. You will be, don't worry, come couple of hours early, this, that. And I was driving that time. I pulled over because I couldn't even understand what she was saying. And then I says, okay, give me an hour. Let me get home, get settled. My daughter had things going on. And I says, after, I'll tell you a little later. On 10:30, 11 in the night, I called her again. I says, so tell me more details. She says, I'll send you the script. And she says, don't worry, don't worry. She sends me 21 pages script. And she says, no, you can look at the script. Don't worry. Even the best of MCs look at the script. So you don't have to memorize it. I says, but still, I'm not that familiar with Asian names to have their names right. And there's lots of challenges. She says, no,
Absolutely.
let's do it. So I was like, you know what? Let's just do it. Let's do it. They need me. They need help. They don't have an MC. And this is 11 o'clock, 12 o'clock. It's a big event. The reputation is there. So, so somebody has to do it. So I took it up. And the funny thing was when I had a lot of plans, Friday meetings, this, that, I canceled some, did whatever. I showed up. She says, take an Uber and come, don't drive, take it around 4 o'clock. I think 5 o'clock I showed up and we did a trial run. So that dry run I was doing. So when I was thinking, I remember that thought. I was like, oh God, Mayor is there. A couple of times, whoever I asked I told my friend. So I was like, oh, Mayor is there. I was getting a little, I noticed that I was being a little overwhelmed with the fact that the Mayor is there. And I know the Mayor, he's really a nice guy, very friendly. Love Steve Adler, Mayor over here. But that thought came to me a couple of times. So during the gala, when I was emceeing it, just everything went great. Okay, it was a Crazy Rich Asians theme, and I added my own flavors. I added my some jokes, and we went by. Just the portion where I was supposed to introduce the mayor, I passed that portion. I announced an award, and then I somehow missed the introduction of Mayor, and I went on and continued on the next segment. And Mayor is standing like right below the stage and looking at me like, what's going
What's
on?
up?
Like, for how long I'll keep standing? Then at some point, I think I realized, and I don't know, I don't think audience realized it, and I kind of segued the next story into kind of blended it all together. That now I would like to welcome our Austin
Okay.
Mayor, and he will say a few words and this and that. So he came, and then he spoke and went back, and then I took over. So when it was all over, I asked me, "This is no, it was fine." So what I was laughing about, that the only thing I was worried was the Mayor was there, and that's the only portion I messed up on.
So so while it brings so many memories to me too, and let's understand that in the events, and especially when you're emceeing, the faux pas do occur with even the best of the best. And yet the last part that you said gets me to the energies. So when you invite certain energies, whether it is positive or negative, they tend to strike.
Yeah,
So you were inviting
I
that,
manifested it
yes, absolutely.
unknowingly.
So
I
so
shouldn't have thought about it. Just like I should have just gone just the way I went.
uh-huh.
Go on my Fab Life 360 page on the Instagram. There is a photo of that event in orange dress. So I shouldn't have thought anything. I just went with the flow. I think all my life, all the decisions, all the activities I've done is I went with the flow. I've just made quick decisions, trusted my gut, and I just go for it. Right or wrong, I don't know. Worked out or not, I don't know. I just felt like, okay, they need me. Chamber needs me, I'll go. This nonprofit needs me. This needs me. I just comes to me and I decide and I go. I do not take very long time to think and decide like big companies do. So I don't know if I'm capable to work in a big corporate now because a lot of time goes in discussions and plannings and then the
Very
boardrooms.
true. So with so many interesting things that we've discovered in this conversation, and as we come towards the close of this conversation, what I would want to ask you is that you've had a remarkable, journey, and you have a story that is full of perseverance and improving upon yourself, bettering yourself, cooperating, collaborating. So what is that you would want people who listening to this or who watching this to take from your story? Or if I may put it in different words, little too early in your career and life, but how would you want to be remembered?
uh, I don't know how I want to be remembered, but uh, I would say be open to all the ideas. Never ever say, oh, I can't do this, or this is too
Mhm.
hard, or give it a shot. Everything is worth thinking about it at least once to give it a shot. Because you never know where things will take you. You never know whom you'll meet. You never know how your mind will change. You never know how life happens.
Mhm.
So one thing is be open, trust yourself, trust your craft, trust your gut, trust your family, trust your close friends. those one or two people that you have, your tribe, and just go for it. And the main thing is, I think, values. What are your values? What do you stand for? You have to know. If you have a really good heart, you have a passion to help. If you say that, what you like to be remembered, I think primarily, like, that I want, and I think that's what people say, or what I intend to do is, intention is always to help. That's the number one thing. Whatever I've done
Mm-hmm.
through my media, all my projects, whatever I've done, the number one thing is to help. Whether it's to grow a startup, to grow an
Very true.
event, to show an event, whatever it is, to help. So unless you have a social cause, unless you're doing something big, you don't think just about yourself. You see a big picture where you stand in the universe. You see others before you, and you see some something positive in everybody. You see positive in situations, and I think you will do good. And if you are loving, helpful, kind, that's what people will remember. Nothing else. Everything else goes away. Everything comes and goes. Those are the only
Very
things
true.
that stay with us.
And now, if people have to find you, I know you were there on Instagram, and you are there on other social medias, but still you would want to tell our audience and people listening and watching this where they can reach you.
Yeah, Fab Life 360 on Instagram. That's the best way. If they can follow me,
Okay.
that's where I post most. Like, all my stories, inspirations, pictures, events, podcast, everything on Instagram. Facebook is there too, but I'm more active on Instagram. But if they don't have an Instagram account, Fab Life 360 Facebook page would be a great. These two would be great. And then we are also starting a new Fab Life 360 YouTube channel.
Oh,
Some of our
excellent.
episodes will be on YouTube as well.
So, so with that, we wish that you continue to be helpful, kind, and ever smiling like this from inside and outside, and epitome of style and substance that you are, so that when you leave the world, it's kind of, undeniable panache that you leave it with. So, and we also wish you all the very best for all the endeavors that you're doing, and we wish that your endeavors to support the nonprofits also, reap the desired goals and the results that you're intending. So thank you so very much, Seema, for coming on the show. I know it's gone beyond
Yeah,
much more that we had planned
that's
for,
okay.
but
That's okay. It happens. This is
I
the
also
field.
thought, let
And
me go with the flow.
and then also, yes, one more thing. Subscribe on Spotify to Fab Live 360,
All
season
right.
one, season
Okay.
two. So listen, go on iTunes, Google Podcast, Spotify. All the episodes are there. Tons of stuff. Chef Vikas Khanna, Chef Sanjeev Kapoor, Nawazuddin Siddiqui, Sania Malhotra, spiritual stuff. There's tons of stuff.
And the
So
list
please
is
listen to those
list
episodes and
is
give me
long, and
feedback.
yeah, we'll mention in the, in the link below, and in the description we'll give all those links, so people will certainly be helpful when they reach you. And I'm very sure with the outward approach that you have in life, there would be something for each one who reaches out to you. So, with that interesting conversation and lengthier one, maybe we'll split it into two. We come to end this episode. And before we go, just a word about the current scenario. Take care and exercise cautions. Stay fit, stay safe, stay peaceful, stay happy. So, hope you all like this conversation as we did enjoy bringing this to you. It was hopefully interesting for you, and it did add value to your lives and the desired meaning it we had intended to bring about. So till we get back to you in a week's time with another guest and an interesting episode of Know the Happiness How with Vinko Chow. It's Seema Goval from Austin, Texas, and I, Wing Commander Satyendra Chauhan, aka Vinko Chow from Bangalore, signing off. Take very good care of
Thank you.
yourself. family and friends. Bye-bye.
Right. Thank you. Thank you for having
Thank
me.
you so much again. Thank you, Seema. Thank you for coming on the show.
Bye.